What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Little Scale Cars YouTube channel. Today in the review box we have the new for 2024 Jaguar Mk1 from Hot Wheels. So let's take a closer look at this one and see if it is worth adding to your collections. Let's go ahead and get this review started by taking a look at our casting. So proportions, from everything that I can tell, look like they are pretty good. Nothing really to complain about there. You get that kind of nice old classic car kind of vibe going with it. There's the real life car up in the top right hand corner just for comparison. I don't see any real issues with the proportions on it, and I haven't really seen any complaints, so pretty good if you ask me. Now, I will say that when it comes to the actual casting, there is a few things I don't love. The actual body lines themselves are a little bit hidden. You can see them under good light, but they're just a little more muted than I'd like to see. They don't stand out, they don't pop, and perhaps that's the paint color kind of doing that to them. But the body lines are not as enhanced as they typically are on most castings. You do get this little bubble thing casted in though, that looks cool. Taillights casted in, this little trunk section casted in. All looking very good. The only real plastic bits are going to be your bumpers up here, which are chrome, your bumpers back here, which are chrome, both of which are incorporated into the base, which I think was a good way of engineering it. It looks really cool. Overall, pretty happy with that. There is a little seam back here that is kind of noticeable and is not really my favorite thing. And then I have seen this seam that runs up front here. Very, very hard to see on mine, but I have seen examples where that seam is very nasty to look at. So just a couple things to kind of keep an eye on as far as the casting goes. For the paint and deco, we do have a real life kind of deco on this car, and it's actually replicated very, very nicely, very closely to the real thing. Here is at least a version I could find. You saw it earlier. Here is that real life deco again. And if we kind of zoom in a little bit, you'll actually see a lot of these names are the same. So we've got Gordon Williams, Tony Williams, and Grant Williams all written right here. Most of these names are the same. You got Grant Williams again with kind of a little extra logo here. Big 12, same as the real life car. An extra little Castrol logo here, which I don't see on the real life one, but that kind of is cool, a replacement for some of the other ones that we couldn't get. And then we do get a Hot Wheels logo back there, which is obviously unique to this one and not found on the real life car. Moving into our details, starting up front, we do get accurate to that car pictured headlights with the little X's across them. We do get a very nicely tampoed grille, and one thing I forgot to mention in the actual casting section is this grille, as you might be able to hear there, is actually casted in like that. Little logo there, looking great, and we do get a buy one license plate here, looking pretty cool. Moving down the sides, really not a whole lot to talk about. These wheels, I think, are a great choice. They look really nice. We've talked about all the tampo work to match the real-life deco. Coming into the rear, we do not get any rear tampo work, though, saying as we got it here and here. However, with these taillights being so small, it would be super easy to paint it yourself if it really bothers you that much. Moving into our roll test, obviously it's going to roll. That should be no surprise for a Hot Wheels mainline. I went ahead and put this one on the scale, and it came out to be 33.29 grams. So it does have some good weight to it. It is a little bit over average for mainline weight. Pros and cons, getting things started with our pros. The biggest pro is going to be that mainline price tag. The $1.25-ish makes this definitely the cheapest way to get a Jaguar Mk1 into your collection. As far as I know, this is actually the only example of this car in 1/64th, but I'm not confident in that enough to actually put that as a pro. The other big pro I'm going to give it is these front tampos here. These just look great. They came out really, really nicely, and even if we get some like non-racing versions of this down the road, I hope that those tampos continue to be as impressive as they are on this particular example. Moving into our cons though, and this release does have two. The first one we have already talked about, and it is these seam lines here in the casting itself. Now this one on the back here is pretty noticeable. and it kind of ruins the illusion of a model car, and it really gives it that toy vibe, which on a mainline is not really a big problem. Up front, again, mine is very good, but I have seen some really nasty ones. So, one thing to just kind of look out for, and then obviously we have to mention the lack of rear detailing. Whenever we get this, it's always going to find itself on the cons, even though in this case especially, I don't really think it's a huge deal. For some quick size comparisons, here we have it with a few other classic Jaguars that you might have in your collection, with the Jaguar XK140 from Matchbox, and the Jaguar E-Type Lightweight from Hot Wheels Premium. And here we have it with a few other classic cars that you might own, with the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL from Hot Wheels Premium and the Aston Martin DBR1 from Matchbox. And with all of that out of the way, it is now time to give my overall scores. The hype level for this one is going to be an 8.7 out of 10. A lot of people were excited for it, and myself included, but I didn't think that I really saw anyone going nuts about it. I don't think this is really going to make anyone's favorite release of the year, despite it being so nice. And it was pretty easy to find. Execution, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Again, the missing taillights and the seam lines kind of ruin it a little bit, but not a lot. Community input, I gave this one to the council, and as you can see, most of them loved it. A few of them had some beef with it, and that score is going to average out to an 8.2 out of 10. When we take these three scores, add them up together, and average them out, we end up with an 8.8 out of 10 as our final score, and I think that is a very good score for a classic car that was done pretty well, especially for the price point. Really don't have any major complaints there. There are a few improvements that I think could be made. Whatever is the seam on that casting could be worked with a little bit to really kind of help. But honestly, I don't have any real issues with the release or the casting itself. Nothing that I would say is a complete deal breaker by any means. And this first release, replicating a real life car and a real life deco, and for honestly doing a really good job of it, I really think this is worth adding to your collection. Definitely one I would not skip out on if I were you. And with that, that is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment down below telling me what your thoughts are on this particular model, and I will see you in the next video.